A very good day to you. Welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Jedel Cabrera here for a political conversation, a conversation to build this country. As we're progressing with President William Ruto's administration, these conversations are very simple, truthful, unbiased, with Herman Manyora who puts them across in a hard-hitting way. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Still sending your tweets, I see.
Yeah, we are trying to have a conversation around many of the things happening around.
What is happening in this country? The conversation now is on defection. This is what you said on Twitter, Prof. Revelations by Mutai Nguni reveal one painful truth, that if these were the people Raila Odinga was depending on, then Baba is truly loved by Kenyans. Imagine getting millions of votes while relying on people whose imagination can't go beyond sponsoring Wajakoya's launch. Look, Prof, the conversation now is about Mutai Nguni. That's what you said. Their imagination really can't go beyond Wajakoya. But this is politics. We know how they usually play, sponsoring one candidate. This is normal. Of course, you're hitting hard on Mutai Nguni. But he says, look, they froze my accounts. You know, this is one of the reasons why I was scared to support William Ruto. What do you first make of his defection? Is it due time because there is these talks?
I think I was born in the wrong time. I don't know how I can be like these people. I can't. If I want to support somebody, I just support him. You don't need to look for small excuses from wherever, under the bed, under the table. If you want to support Ruto, just support him.
You were actually the first person to support President William Ruto once he was sworn in.
I said I'm now his subject. He's my president, and I said it. But so, I don't need to say more than that. You see, people would expect if I went to State House, when I leave State House, to begin talking and saying things in a manner when I go home at night. I can't believe I'm the one who said them. That's not how we should behave. You can support somebody, but intelligently.
So you think Mutai has cooped too low? Is this the case?
Now? Those things are... But the point I was trying to make is, if these are the people Raila was relying on, then he's a very popular politician. That having such as your advisors and the people running your election, and you still manage 7 million votes against your opponent 7.2 or something, without going to any other details, then you must be a very popular politician.
But Mutai Nguni says he wasn't part of the campaign, says
what was he doing?
He tried to warn Raila that if...
But when it serves him right, he says he came up with the strategies, including sponsoring Wajakoya's launch. So I'm saying, if that's what can come from you, then that should come from people who serve coffee in the State House. Somebody should be...
that idea.
There are people serving coffee, but they can come when people are talking. One of them can say, by the way, why don't you sponsor Wajakoya? Yeah, not from a thinker. I'm expecting if I say I'm in somebody's campaign at my level, I must be part of the thinking, part of the strategy of that team.
But he says,
and the things I should associate myself with must be things that show that I have some capacity to think.
He says he warned Raila that the deep state at that particular point was incompetent as it was constituted, and I believe up to now. Is this part of that reason that Raila failed? Because you always talk about deep state as if these guys can run the world. But now, according to Mutai, they failed Raila badly.
No, then also his understanding of things is also a bit low. If I was advising Raila, and I was so close to power the way Mutai Nguni was, and I was dealing with this issue of deep state, I would not tell him that the deep state is weak. I will tell him that the deep state can move the other side. And I can show him the indications that the deep state is about to move, or is in the process of moving, or is there is the danger it will move, or it has moved. That's how now I will be different from somebody who doesn't have my capacity. Okay? But people who are saying this thing, including rallies, that the deep state will not help you. Anybody can say that.
So you're questioning the competency of Mutai Nguni as an advisor?
Alone.
Is this the question?
Not him alone, of the entire team of people who are supposed to be advising Raila.
This is Grand Mula. Mutai is shamelessly gossiping about his former employer and trashing the candidacy of Raila Odinga, all in the hope that President William Ruto will give him a hatchet job. Of course, going on to insult him in a paragraph there. But when you see someone defecting, what does this mean about their stature in the society?
No, defecting is normal. It happens all the time, everywhere in the world. Changing a position is never wrong. There are people, you know, they may not be very high profile, but people change parties even in America, in the UK. They may not be very high profile, as in leaders, but there are people who change. So there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing.
But the roots.
But the things you say, you know, the apologies you make, you don't have to apologize. If there's no need for apologies. I don't need to apologize for making a decision I know is right. Now, as if Grand Mullah is saying, if Mutai Gunyi is saying those things first, so that he may find favor with Ruto, and saying them in the manner he's saying, and he's a man we respect the way we respect, I find it not quite interesting.
After Raila got into handshake, the people that believed they were with him, they really did not get anything in Uhuru's time, and actually most of them did not even know the agreement Raila had with Uhuru. Is this what Mutahi Ngunyi is doing, going before Raila talks to Ruto and they come up with an agreement?
I don't know, maybe if that's his strategy. I just don't like the whole idea of people having to say bad things about their former home. There are certain things if I do with you, I don't expect you, even if we differ. Yeah.
But don't you think him coming out and talking this at least shows Kenyans that Raila was probably not meant for power, as some would argue, because look, he had the technical team, he had the advisors who told him about Uhuru, according to Mutahi Ngunyi, saying about the deep state, talking about the incompetency.
But if you made your shillings from that job, okay? You made your millions, perhaps hundreds of millions, working for Uhuru Kenyatta and advising Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila on the project. Surely, don't you have some shame? But I know people who live in this country have no shame. Money is everything. Money. If I got money here, if I go the next place, I'll get money. That's what matters. They are not like me. It's good not to have money sometimes. At least you have some balance.
So for someone like you or Mutahi Ngunyi, because both of you have been accused, you know, for playing Azimio politics on your platforms, and this, even Mutahi Ngunyi has said the same thing. How do you work with the current administration without coming out and looking bad as if you're opposing the side you worked for?
You know, I've never worked for Raila Odinga. Not even for a day, not even a minute. I may have said things that show I support Raila Odinga. Maybe they were right, maybe those people are right, maybe they are wrong. I might have clearly shown from my analysis that Raila Odinga was poised to win, as opposed to Ruto. I might even have shown that a proper assessment of the situation would have shown Raila would have been better for Kenya. But that's not to say I've worked for Raila. I've never worked for him.
I'm asking about the accusation. How do you now transition to this other side? Because this is
if I wanted to go the other side.
Yes.
You see, the way I would go the other side myself is very simple. I'm a Kenyan, and if I'm given a job by the government of this country to serve the people of Kenya, if I have the energy and the time and the ability, I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will not cross over to go and shout like a boy.
You know, the big question also is about the ideology of both camps. Can someone say they were supporting Raila Odinga, according to Mutahi Ngunyi, actually voted for him, and then come and say that I believe in the hustler ideology? What does this make sense for you? Because the other side was inawezekana, and this other side is hustler. How does those two ideology intertwine? You
know, then it's a contradiction. The only time you can vote for somebody you don't believe in is if there are monetary gains or material gains. So now there's a contradiction here, because the side Mutahi Ngunyi voted for is the same side that gave him material gains. And the other side, he says where his heart was.
It's because of the ideology, believes in the hustler.
And then, again, we must be very honest with ourselves. The person of people like Mutahi Ngunyi, I know them. I know their training and their ability and what kind of persuasion they can have if they are using their head. You know, I've drawn a very clear distinction between following ideology, what you believe in, the policies of a person. Let's just be clear. There is Raila Odinga here and there is William Ruto here. These are very good Kenyans. And we are in the year 2021, 2022. We are going for an election. And you are at the level of Mutahi Ngunyi. Not persuaded by material, because material is on the side of Raila.
Yes.
Material, and he doesn't deny that. He worked for Uhuru Kenyatta. On the Raila project, if you call it a project, okay? So that's where the money was. So now, you want to be persuaded, you want to persuade me that you would have loved to vote the other side. I would have thought voting the other side would have been more from material gain than persuasion at an intellectual level.
If you've been working with Raila, yes.
I find it, you know, me, I'm very honest about it. That I would find it very difficult for somebody to convince me that from an ideological perspective, looking at this country and the hope we could have that this country could move forward, could say what Mutahi Ngunyi is saying. I'm not persuaded.
Now he says it looks like KK, Kenya Kwanza, has abandoned the hustler ideology since they took over power. Says now he wants to structure it. Is this a way of getting back into
hustler?
politics?
You see, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Hustler was not an ideology. Because I'm talking about a man who is going to school. And I'm not talking about just anybody. I'm talking about a man who has gone to school. And a man I highly respect.
You do?
Yeah. In fact, there was a debate at the university on these forums, what do you call them? These social media.
Yes.
And people were rubbishing. I told them, many of you are not even a quarter of Mutahi Ngunyi. And the records are there. And those are my colleagues. And so I believe Mutahi Ngunyi is a person with the capacity. So I feel a little disappointed.
Well, you know,
because you can't talk of hustle and ideology in the same phrase. But make no mistake, there are people who have come the way William Ruto has come, without an ideology, without any philosophy, without any known theory of government or anything. But they have put their hands on things and changed society. So unless you are looking at pragmatism, just making something, if something is working, then it's okay. But you cannot say hustler was an ideology.
Now he says he wants to structure it, and you've said he's one of the most brilliant minds we have in Kenyan politics, actually.
Yes.
Is this a way of getting back into government?
That's what I'm saying.
And if this is just
you are trying to get back the other side, which
doesn't it mean
just get there? You know, Mutahi Ngunyi does not need to bend that law to cross over to William Ruto. He will be received. Because for Ruto, that's a big catch. He's a man who can take a stand and stick with it.
Maybe finally, he's a political analyst. You are too, commentator at your best. Look, if you are in the place of Mutahi Ngunyi, do you really care about what people perceive of you? The people you go to TVs and advise? Because now, one day he's singing Raila, the next day he's singing Ruto.
Yeah, you'd care. You'd care because when you are in public space, you don't belong to yourself. We drive narratives and we engage Kenyans in conversations which are known to many people, help shape this country in some way. And therefore, it's a position you want to use with a lot of caution and respect for the people of this country for giving you that space. This space I occupy, I have worked towards it. But it's a space you can't say you got it yourself. And therefore it's a space that belongs to the people of Kenya. So you use it with respect for the people of Kenya, with respect to yourself.
Despite the monetary value.
Yeah, money, everybody goes for money. Not everybody is like Manyora. People like money. I don't blame them. I know the good things money can do. I don't have it myself. Except that I would want it, except that I can't do certain things to get it. So what I'm trying to say is there's nothing wrong with changing sides. But while at it, don't rubbish the people you are with. Don't reduce yourself to a beggar to cross over. then even your value diminishes. Cross over with your chest. Weka kifua mbele. Ambia Kenya kwanza nimeingia, nataka tufanye kazi na nyinyi. Hapana inama sana na kuomba na kupembelezana. Kwanza watu wako na pesa. They are not like me. So what is bothering them?
What is bothering them indeed? Let's
they have enough money to eat.
Yeah.
What is their problem? They are not like me. If me I went to beg, maybe somebody can understand. Say Manyora kweli hana kitu. Wacha aombe. Like these guys have money. What is their problem?
Well, we'll have to see whether he'll join him publicly, because we haven't seen him with Ruto in status. But he said they've talked. He apologized, and you know.
You don't need to apologize. No. I can support Ruto while telling him I believe Raila would have been a better president. I will tell him that and I'll support him. And I'll give him reasons, and he knows. I'll tell him I think Raila would have been a better president for this country, this time. You are a good man, you are a good president even. But between the two of you, I believe, I as Manyora, Raila would have been a better president for this country in 2022. But now that you are the president, one, we shall support you. Two, try to surprise us. Do things until we are surprised. Because we knew he would be better than you. Now that you are there, we support you. But we want you to surprise those of us who thought Raila would have been a better president. By doing good things.
Kifua mbele.
Yeah. I will tell him. Oh, me, I sit with him, I'll tell him.
Okay.
I'll tell him, I support you, you are my president. But between you and I voted for Raila Odinga because I believed he would have been a better president for the country. But now that you are the president, you have my full support. Full! If you give me kibarua nitafanya. Lakini serve the people of this country.
Sawa sawa.
Yes.
If you're there, Mr. President, umpe kibarua. You do talk again. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.